and welcome to another episode of Kindling the Hearthfire. And by the way, this is the third time I've tried to stream this, and I am finally just posting a recorded video for everyone, because YouTube is not cooperating. It's kicked me off twice and then kept streaming for over an hour while I had exited out of the window completely, and there obviously wasn't anything to stream. But the frustrations of YouTube are beside the point. But welcome to another episode of Kindling the Hearthfire. This is going to be a kind of combined episode of the Spring Equinox and Beltaine, which we just did our ritual just in the last few hours. So that's what's going on at the moment. So in this time of staying at home and coronavirus and a lot of things that are keeping our communities from coming together physically, it was an interesting transition from doing outside rituals and with lots of people to doing online rituals with, once again, a fair few of people actually came to our online ritual on Google Hangouts this morning. So for Spring Equinox, what we had done it was kind of right before the stay-at-home order was kind of put into place. It was like a couple days afterwards that we had to do that. And we went to our usual place. We kept the social distancing kind of thing that was going on. Kept 6 feet away from each other. We did not share food. We made sure that everything was within parameters of safety and all that good stuff, just to make sure that everyone that came was safe. And there was literally only 4 people that came, so it was a fairly small group in an outside place, so we kept safe. But we still were able to come together, celebrate the Spring Equinox, and celebrate and ask for the help of Aramed, who is the daughter of Dianket, and her main thing is that she holds the knowledge for all the uses of all the herbs in the entire creation of the world and all that good stuff, which is quite a few herbs. There's like 366 herbs that she holds all the medicinal properties for and knows all the knowledge of the medicinal properties. So it seemed appropriate that we would make offerings to her and ask for her support during this time when the pandemic was coming into fruition and blossoming, as you will. And we made offerings to her, especially for the medical community and the at-risk people that could not be at our ritual. We made offerings to maybe help mitigate what was happening in their communities and things like that, health-wise, and it seemed just appropriate to ask for Aramed's help with that. And in this ritual, we chose to honor and ask for the help of, or work with, Aramed's father, Dianket, who was the main physician for the Tuatha De Danann, and it seemed appropriate to ask also for his help and make offerings to, and make a ritual honoring him and his work, and especially considering that he's very much a healing deity, but he's also very prominent in many of the healers and medical professions as well. And since they are one of the people who are at the front lines of this, we thought it appropriate that we work with him and make offerings to him and kind of bring him into this situation so that he could help us to help our communities while going through these difficult times. So that's kind of all I'm going to say about the kind of seasonal bit. But I will say it was an interesting transition, and it was an interesting juxtaposition from how we were about 6 weeks ago to how we are now. Because it was just 6 weeks ago, we were able to meet outside, just not in large groups. And we were able to at least see each other, if from a distance. Whereas now, many of us are with stay-at-home orders and working from home if we can, and we are unable to see many of our friends, many of our family, and many of the people that we would be gathering at this time with. We can't see them physically. So it was interesting, and it seemed to be accepted and much appreciated that we did our ritual online in Google Hangouts. And I will be getting into later many of the groves and proto-groves of ADF who are also moving their rituals online, because their communities still need them to do ritual and to bring the community together, even if we can't meet in person due to safety and health and wellness and all that good stuff. So that's pretty much that bit is what I'm going to be talking about, the general seasonal items here. And the next part of the podcast is going to be about, let's see, what was next up? Next up is going to be the recipe bit, which is also very much pared down from what I usually would do, because many people can't go to the stores as often as they would like due to safety and health. And also when you get into the stores, because of the TP panic, which is all I'm going to say about that bit, a lot of foods and a lot of things that are staples in many people's diets are not as readily available as they would usually be. And I tried to find recipes that were very basic, and they didn't have a lot of ingredients that would cause you to maybe go to China to get, you know, just because that would not be safe, nor would it be feasible. But the two recipes that I have for you today are a basic recipe of asparagus with chives and blossoms. Chive blossoms. And also we have a recipe for chicken barley stew with herbs. They don't have a terribly large amount of ingredients, each of them. I think the asparagus has probably 5 or 6, and then the barley soup has about 5 or 6 ingredients in it. And I tried to find ones that were simple. But honestly, during this particular time of coronavirus, comfort foods are really a big thing right now for a lot of people. And finding things that you can make with whatever is in your pantry at this point. I know me and my partner are making a lot of bread. And I know a lot of people are making a lot of bread. And that isn't just loaves of bread, which is one of the many things that he has made so far. But he was talking about bagels this morning. We didn't make bagels, but that's one thing that's on our list. We've made pretzels. We've made loaves of sourdough bread. We've made loaves of...
I did make bagels once.
But that not during this particular batch.
Yeah, it was.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh yes, it was.
That
We
was
did make bagels. Yes, he's next to me and he's correcting me as I blather on about things that actually happened. Okay. But that's what you're getting with the video. Yeah. Awesome. But yeah, we've made split pea soup, which is a big comfort food for and he's also making apple fritters, which I am going to very much enjoy. But it's just comfort foods, and apple pie is one of my big comfort foods, and apple fritters are awesome. But we got very lucky in finding flour from a wholesale a restaurant supply store, that decided to come public, be open to the public, and we found a 50-pound bag of flour. And by the way, it's a high gluten flour, so it's interesting to work with. So we got lucky in getting a hell of a lot of flour, and that's kind of what we've been doing. We don't usually go out for more than once every 2 weeks, and that's me going out because he's one of those people that can't go out because he does not have a compromised immune system. That is what always tries to come out of my mouth, but that is not what it is. He has asthma and respiratory issues, and respiratory issues are a big thing, and it's very, very scary for him to go out. So he does not go out unless he absolutely has to, which has been exactly once in this entire 6-week period, and he stayed in the car the whole time, so he never was interacting with anybody. So it's usually me doing most of the shopping, and we're either talking over the phone or by messenger to get the shopping done for that. So these recipes are a little bit pared down, but mostly what I'm saying is that use whatever's in your pantry and make whatever you have the recipe to, whatever you have the ingredients to make. Bread is a good one. One, it gives you something to do, and it also gives you bread, which is awesome. Apple fritters. I'm being distracted by apple fritters. Anyway, but the first recipe is asparagus with chives and blossoms. And this calls for 1 pound asparagus, washed, 1 tablespoon olive oil, or whatever oil you want to use for your cooking, whatever you have, and 1 tablespoon sesame seeds, 2 tablespoons fresh chives, snipped, 16 chive blossoms, if you have them, half a teaspoon soy sauce, salt and pepper to taste. And basically you're going to be blanching the asparagus in lightly salted boiling water for about 3 minutes, or until they're crisp and tender. Crisp, tender, kind of al dente kind of thing, so they're not pasta. You shouldn't be overcooking them. It's just basically you're blanching them. You're putting them in for a couple minutes, and then you're taking them out. Then you're going to be refreshing them under very cold water, and then you drain them very well. Remove the chive stalks to separate the flowers, if you have them. In a skillet, heat the oil over medium heat and add the sesame seeds. Stir for about 1 minute. Add the snipped chives. Stir for 1 minute more. Add the asparagus and soy sauce in the skillet with a few pinches of salt and a generous grinding of pepper. Stir well, cover, and cook for about a minute or so. Remove the lid. Sprinkle the chive blossoms, if you have them, over the asparagus. What other things could you sprinkle over rather than chive blossoms, do you think? That seems like an item that most people wouldn't have in their pantry at this point. Chive blossoms.
Green onions.
Green onions might actually be a good thing to actually do instead. Yeah. Sprinkle the chive blossoms or whatever kind of blooms you have over your asparagus, and cover for 1 to 2 minutes so that the chive blooms steam briefly. Stir slightly and taste for seasoning. Serve hot. And there's some comments on the website saying bright lavender chive blossoms. Just saying, I thought they said lavender was beginning to bloom. Oh, whatever. Bright lavender chive blossoms begin to bloom in the garden about the time the asparagus bed is at its peak. Hence, this is a natural combination and simply a tasty dish. Since chive blossoms are apparently strong in flavor, add them at the last minute in this recipes. Okay, so if you have chive blossoms, they sound awesome, but if you do not, green onions will do. At least in my opinion and my partner's opinion, because, you know, apple fritters. Those look awesome. Okay, I have to finish this so I can have some apple fritters. Okay, so and then the chicken barley stew with herbs. Like the generic herbs, like just throw a bunch of herbs in there or something. Anyway, you need 2 3-pound chicken breasts on the bone, 2 tablespoons of butter, 1 pound leeks. And leeks are basically onions, so if you don't have leeks, you can use onions instead. They're slightly less strong flavor, but they are very similar to onions, in my opinion. So if you don't have leeks, use onions. And it says right in the recipe, you may substitute onions, so there. He's got commentary going off in the background, which is kind of entertaining. You may substitute onions. These are 1 pound leeks, 3 to 4 large ones, or 4 to 5 little ones, thickly cut. 4 cloves of garlic, chopped fine, unless you want more garlic, because I love garlic, and lots of people do love garlic, depending on what you have. And you need 6 ounces of barley, or as much barley as you really want, really. We added a lot of barley into our stew, and I liked it. He had different opinions, but I liked all the barley, personally. But 3 tablespoons red wine vinegar, 3 3/4 cups water, 2 bay leaves, 2 bay leaves, and 1 tablespoon of dried sage. And there's commentary on this in the website where it comes from that says this is originally an Anglo-Saxon recipe. The original calls for rabbit, but chicken is just as good. So pretty much any light meat that you have in like any fowl probably would work. Chicken, any type of bird, that kind of thing. If you're into that, if you actually go hunting for yourself and you can actually get a fresh rabbit, go you. Just go you. That's good. Alright. I would like to get a hold of the original recipe now that I'm seeing it. I'm like, that would sound pretty good. That'd be something that Guion might be interested in, knowing that recipe. He might have it in his book. That would be just kind of hilarious. But anyway, here's the recipe itself. In a large Dutch oven, melt the butter, then fry the leeks and garlic in the butter. Add the chicken and brown it. Add remaining ingredients, reserving the sage. Bring to a boil, then reduce and simmer 1 to 1.5 hours. Remove chicken from pot and let cool. Remove meat from bones and add back into the pot. This assumes you did not use boneless chicken to begin with, but that's neither here nor there. Add the chicken back to the pot, add sage, stir well, and serve. And apparently this serves 8. Let's not even go there. And these both look like really, really great, simple recipes, and you can substitute lots of things for lots of the items in there and make them your own, or make comfort food for this time when comfort is definitely needed. Anyway. Oh, I got them in there. Throat's getting dry. Those apple fritters are looking really, really good right now, and I can't eat them on camera.
Well, you're drinking tea on camera.
That's not the same thing.
Are you going to edit?
Not the video, because that would actually take effort, and I am
We're talking.
Yes. This is what you pay for, patrons. This is what you pay for. The commentary and the extra, shenanigans. But anyway, moving on to the next part of this. I mean, you don't mind being in here, do you?
Do they mind? I'm not the one that they're back in. You should probably continue with your video.
Okay, I probably should, yes. Anyway, so the next section to the podcast is the book review. And for this time around, I've actually got 2 books because I've been doing a lot of reading. And I know a lot of people probably have been doing a lot of reading. And just to point it out, I've got a nightly reading live videos streaming on Facebook every night around 8 o'clock. I won't be doing one tonight because I've been doing a lot of stuff today, so I'm fairly exhausted. So I will not be doing a live video tonight, but Sunday I will be starting up again on Facebook Live and on Discord if you are on Discord. I do have a server there, so I'll put a link to that in the description, just so you can take a look at that. Because you're speaking of reading, and that's where my mind goes. There you go. This is why I edit. Yeah. Anyway, so my first book that I'm going to bring to your attention is The Avalon Within, and yes, it is backwards on the screen, but Avalon Within is the title of the book, and it is by Jenna Telindrew, I believe. And I was actually given to this by a friend of mine. She'd already read it. I didn't hear her commentary on it, but I have my own. And I was reading through it, and there's a lot of really good meditations in it, and it is Avalon Within, a sacred journey of myth, mystery, and inner wisdom. And I'll read the back of the book just to give you an idea of what this is about. It's listed as body, mind, and spirit, spirituality, and Celtic. Set forth on a sacred quest, journey to the legendary Isle of Avalon and experience the magic, mysteries, and mysticism that have inspired women throughout the ages. Jenna Telindrew, founder of Avalonian tradition, invites you on a unique spiritual path of healing and personal revelation built upon the beloved Avalon mythology. Connect with the goddesses of Avalon through guided journeys and powerful rituals. Explore Glastonbury's sacred landscape with 8 pages of gorgeous color photographs. Develop legendary Avalonian skills such as the sight and the art of glamour to heal wounds of the soul and unlock the sacred wisdom at the core of your being. Drawing on Celtic mythology, Arthurian legend, and Druidic lore, and exploring the way of the priestess, as alluded to in Marion Zimmer Bradley's The Mists of Avalon. The Avalonian path empowers women everywhere to transform their lives by seeking the goddess and the sovereign self within. I'm really trying not to be snarky about reading that. Really trying. The meditations and the rituals were very well thought out, very well put together, very beautiful rituals, and very good meditations. The photographs are great. They're awesome. And if you're into that, seeing Avalon and Glastonbury tour and things of that nature from aerial photographs and personal photographs and things like that, there really are beautiful photographs if that's what you're into. I personally had serious issues with the fact that it is very much has a Wiccan slant to it, and I am not Wiccan, and that's not my path in life, and that's just not my thing. And that usually doesn't turn me away from a book. Like, if it's got a Wiccan slant to it, that's fine. I'll read through it and stuff. But the second issue I have with this particular book is the well, let's just go to my usual standards that I usually put towards reading, rather than just getting into a long diatribe of that sort of thing. I usually go through, and the three categories that I go into are readability, rereadability, and references. My 3 R's that I go to when I look at a book, a nonfiction book, to whether or not it belongs on my shelf or not. And the readability of this book is fairly decent. There's not a lot of high-sounding language in here, not a lot of complicated topics that are made more complicated by the wording, that sort of thing. It's very easy to read, and very layman's terms are very much used in a lot of this this book, and it's very easy to read. Rereadability. I would have to say that maybe the rituals and the meditations you might be willing to reread the book for. But honestly, if you can copy and paste the rituals and the meditations into your own formatting, you don't really need the book anymore. And there's quite a few of them, but basically if you copy and paste them into something like your Book of Shadows or a journal of some kind, you don't need the full book anymore if that's what you're looking for. So I would say that it does not fall on the high scale of rereadability. I definitely, once I read through this and got all the information that I needed from it, I wouldn't want to keep it on my shelf as a reference, personally. And that kind of leads me into my third R, which I also have issues with because of the references or the bibliography. There is a wonderful index, lots of terms that are. You can look up terms in the book and that sort of thing, and it's really nice to have an index in the back. But the big issue that I have with the references in here in the bibliography is, one, it's only about 5 pages long, and in all of those 5 pages, it's not very a thick section, which would be perfectly fine if the references were more varied in their time frames. What I mean by that is that the earliest one that I can find is from 1886, I believe, but 1880s, late 1800s, basically, and the latest one I can find is from 2013. And that would seem like a pretty wide range, but if you look at it from the perspective of how many of the references actually come from those time periods, there are basically maybe 2, maybe 3, that do not come from the 1900s, or even the late 1900s, like the 1960s to the 1990s and the 2000s. There's like 3 that do not come from those time periods, and that's a big issue for me. And a number of the references that they do have are problematic at best. They have, let's see if I can look here, find them. Caitlin and John Matthews. They have them in here as references in their bibliography. They're troubles. They're poets first, and academics second, in my personal opinion, and my opinion is shared by several other people. But that's all I'm saying, is that they have. I like Caitlin Matthews better for her academic fervor. John Matthews is more of a poet, and Caitlin Matthews is more of an academic. But they're both poets first before they're academics, so I have problems with a lot of their items here used as references. But then they also have Tennyson and Robert Graves and his White Goddess, which are Tennyson in itself, a lovely poet, love him to pieces. I love his work, but it is poetry, not references. I mean, if you're going to use poetry, say that you're using it for the poetry. Don't just put it in your bibliography and say it's one of your sources, because that's a little bit confusing in my mind. But Robert Graves is problematic at best. Problematic at best is probably where I'm going to leave that, because his White Goddess is problematic at best, is the best way to put it. And there's a couple of other pieces in here. Which one was it that we were having a bit of a laugh at?
Veil of Isis.
The Veil of Isis, and what was that was the second title. That was
The Secret of Druids. There's Veil of Isis.
Here it is. It is by Winwood Reed, and it's called The Veil of Isis, or Mysteries of the Druids. You're having a bit of a... We actually read a couple of pages of it on the internet, at least my partner did, and he read them to me, and they're problematic.
I'm not really seeing them.
Just a smidge. And it was also published in, surprisingly enough, this is a, how long ago was that put together? In like 1892 or something like that, but it was republished in 1992. But yeah, it's problematic at best, and you can just see from the title that it's problematic, and BS at worst. But there's lots of problematic. I'm using the word problematic a lot because I'm trying to be kind. Really, I'm trying to be kind. But honestly, the references bit and the rereadability bit, just, I don't want this on my shelf as a reference tool. I might take bits and pieces out of it if I find them favorable, but as a whole, I would not have this on my shelf, personally. So this does not belong on my shelf, so it will not belong on my shelf. And I would not recommend it. The next book I have on here is slightly more positive, but is also of a different type. It is a book of poetry, A Rise from Vapors by Jean Pagano. And this is not a newer book of his. It actually is one of the first books of poetry that he had published in about 2005. And I picked this up from the author himself at one of the last festivals that I was at that we were able to go to. And I have all of the books of poetry that he's written or published that he is selling at this point, and I really, really, really love his poetry. It's very evocative, very thought-provoking, but very beautiful, beautiful words put together. And if you want a book of poetry and you like also Druidic stuff, that's the best way to put it. He's got a whole section in here on hymns to the gods, and very beautiful words. All I can say about it is that I love reading it. I love reading it aloud. Very beautiful to listen to, very beautiful to read, and he just gets better with time. This is one of his earliest put together books, and it is very good, and all his other works so far have been excellent. So I would definitely recommend purchasing this one. And since it is not a reference tool, it's just it is a book of poetry, so it doesn't really fall onto my 3 R's. But this is definitely a read-worthy book, and I believe you can find it on Amazon. But I'll put a link in the notes of where you can find this. It was published by authorhouse.com, so you might be able to go on to authorhouse.com. I'm having trouble with my internet, so I can't double check well, actually I can. Well, I'll do that in a second. But I'll put a link to where you can find his books and purchase them as well. And I'll also put links to this one as well, so you can purchase it if you like, if this sounds interesting to you and you want to check it out for yourself. So, lots of links in the show notes. But anyway, moving on from our book review, we have the calendar portion of the social calendar for the podcast. And this one had to go through some revisions because of the pandemic that we're all in, and the fact that we're not allowed to leave our homes and gather in large groups because of the pandemic. So, that's being said, a couple groves around the country, there may be more, but these are the ones that I am aware of, and you can find a full list of these on the ADF Facebook group. If you're a member of ADF, we have a private Facebook group for us to discuss things, and these are groves that are moving their rituals from public rituals in a public space with lots of people to public rituals in a public space online. And as I was saying earlier, we just moved our ritual, and we just did our ritual on Google Hangouts. this time around, and we had, what was it, 12 people showed up? 9 to 12 people. That's what I remember. And it was quite lovely to put together. That the community got together, even in a modified format. But there's several groves that are actually having online meetings of some sort for the Beltaine celebrations. And I've got at least 3 different groves, and since these are online, even if you're not in the area, these links will work for you, and you should be able to pop in and maybe check out what they're doing and join the community, even if you can't join physically. So the first of these is at the La Rara Tridentada Grove in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. It will be on April 30th, which is about 5 days from now, at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And I will leave in the link in the show notes where you can find the event on Facebook. But they will be doing a live production of their ritual. They're still setting up a little bit, so they don't know exactly which format they're going to be using, as far as I'm aware. But check out the Facebook event and you can get all the details there. The next grove that I'm aware of is the Charter Oak Grove, which is in southern New England, and they'll be having their Beltaine ritual on May 2nd at 11 a.m. via Zoom. And you can find out all the details once again on their Facebook page. And I will also put links in the bottom for all these in the show notes and all that good stuff. And the last one that I am aware of or was posted on Facebook recently was the Columbia Grove in Portland, Oregon. They will be having their Beltaine rituals at May 3rd at 3:45 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, PDT. And they also have a Facebook page for the event, so I will also put links in the show notes for that. Okay. And that is the podcast for the moment. And wrapping up, I would like to thank everyone who contributed to the podcast, either by listening or with your submissions or on Patreon. And on the couch. You're definitely lovely to have on the couch with me. Let's see. All music and images belong to their creators and all that good stuff, all the stuff that's for copyright and all that good stuff. Right now you can find our podcast on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, and on Patreon, which is where you're seeing this video. Yeah. And I also have been streaming, or am planning to stream the podcast to Discord, but we're still figuring that one out. But there will be a Discord something or other in the near future. Go to Patreon and check all the things we got out for Patreon and help support the podcast if you would like. All websites mentioned will be listed in the links in the show notes as per usual. Thank you for listening, contributing, and supporting. We have 2 new, speaking of supporters, we have 2 new patrons. I keep calling them Patreons. I don't know why, but they're patrons on Patreon. And 2 new patrons that came up just this last week. Let me see if I can get their names up here. I know the first one is Joan. And they are awesome. She is awesome. Relationship manager? Sure. Let's look at the names. And the next one, I want to get this one right because it's an amusing name and I really do enjoy it, but I want to get it right because otherwise, yeah. It's Toast, Heal, Powerful, or it could be Toast, He All Powerful, or something of that nature. But I love the username, but they are both new patrons subscribing just a couple days ago. So thank you for your patronage, and welcome to the podcast. Alright, so wrapping up. Thank everyone for listening, contributing, and supporting our podcast and our community. May you and yours always pray with a good fire.